الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين صدق الله العظيم.
Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha. My dear brothers, sisters, respected elders, respected Shaykh, Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, I'll recite a short piece dedicated to Hazrat Hur. It's narrated that when Hazrat Hur was noted to be contemplating in the days leading up to the battle of Karbala, and it was said that he said, when asked, "Why do you seem to be so pensive?" he responded saying that he finds himself between heaven and hell. So this piece is written based upon that narration. With the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As I walk my soul towards my Lord, I choose heaven. As day became night, then day, and then night, I heard heaven calling my name, calling me to be free. For the warmth I was approaching was not heavenly, and the burning earth served to remind that every step I take away from Him, my hereafter would hereby be assigned. I can see myself between heaven and hell, between those who live by His words and those who His words repel, between those who guide and are guided, with those strapped with chains up to their chin, between the sons of those who taught the Quran and the sons of mothers cursed within. I can see myself between heaven and hell, and I choose heaven. For with my name came the duty to be free, with my mother making no mistake in how she named me. Yet I would lead thousands. I would lead thousands of unshackled captives, thinking we were free, as our lips were the ones damp and our stomachs full. Yet when they would hear the sounds of oppression, they would still utter God's praise. But a praiseworthy scene Ibn Ziyad and company could not find, so I concluded I was sided with the deaf, dumb and blind. May my mother mourn that state of mind. Though time passed, and I'd see Ibn Ziyad itching for blood, unbeknownst to him that the flowers of revolution were in bud, and they would feed. And they would feed and seed upon the holy bloodshed. I came to these grounds confused and lost within lies. But damned would we be if this disease spread like the sun and the moon orbiting, rotating under no will of their own. I shackled my wrists, lowered my head, guiding myself towards the sound of supplication. I walked to his camp. My voice lowers. I dare not speak in fluid tone, knowing that I would be met by the dry, coarse voice of angels mistreated. I spoke words of forgiveness until forming sentence, extinguishing the threat of the fire with these tears of repentance. I told my Master Hussein. I told my Master Hussein that I care for no sight of this world, and for heaven I had planned, after he quenched my thirst with the water from his hand. For now I had tasted the fountain of Kawthar. But God had dignified humankind. God had dignified humankind, and certainly he purified your kin, so why would you let my horses drink before you would even begin? I distanced myself from the disbelief in my limbs. I distanced myself from the disbelief in my limbs and the weakness in my past morals as I entered into the light of him. As I sided with one half of heaven's pearls and corals, I brought my son with me, knowing that he too had sons who would be slain. And despite the fact that I had funneled them into this land, he hesitated not to approach and hold my dying son's hand. I lay, struck on the battlefield in your presence aboard, a free man, but firmly a slave to your Lord. I saw my body being collected by my tribe. I saw my body. I saw this sinner's body being sought, whilst the purest were left amongst rubble and stones. My mind would yell, take not my body, for I wish to be crushed amongst these bones. For I obtained proximity to Hussein and his Lord for mere hours. I obtained proximity to Hussein and his Lord for hours upon this plain. Let me not taste the bitterness of that distance again. For I find myself between heaven and hell, and I chose the path illuminated well, the path lined with the martyrs and the pious and the God-fearing, the straight path to heaven. For when I found myself between heaven and hell, I chose Hussein. And by his side I wish to forever remain. When I found myself between heaven and hell, I chose his side. I chose Hussein. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى حبيب الإسلام والمسلمين بالقاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers, respected sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First I would like to commemorate the martyrdom of Sayyid al-Shuhada Abu al-Ahrar al-Husayn ibn Ali with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Today I'm here representing Al Ain Social Care Foundation in these very painful days of Muharram. We want to share something with you. It's not just an appeal but a journey, the journey of children who have lost everything and the journey we take alongside them until they can stand on their own 2 feet. Alhamdulillah, Al Ain Social Care Foundation has been doing this work for over 20 years, and this Muharram we are continuing, reaching further and asking for support for this noble mission. Muharram is a reminder that the legacy of Imam Hussein alayhi salam lives on through how we care for those left vulnerable. This Muharram, Al Ain's mission is clear: to reach out more orphan children living below the poverty line in Iraq, Afghanistan and Ghana. There is a big focus in Afghanistan to lift the children out of poverty. A lot of these children are in remote and high-risk regions that are very difficult to reach, sometimes dangerous to enter, to find orphan children living below the poverty line who have no one to speak to, no safety net, nothing. We have, alhamdulillah, identified them. They are in the registration process. We assess their needs, of course. We make sure that the donations reach those who truly have nothing. We onboard them with dignity. Everything has been done to make sure that the dignity is preserved. The sponsorship program is the heart of what we do. When you sponsor through Al Ain, you're not contributing to a pot, you're standing beside them. In the meaning of kafala, as you may have heard the Prophet's hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ana wa kafil al-yatim kahatayn fi al-jannah. Myself and the person who lifts the child out of poverty is like this in heaven. So it is a very sacred thing, and inshallah with your help we are able to acquire this. So let me be very specific in terms of what the sponsorship actually covers. We're talking about 6 vital pillars: financial aid, healthcare, housing support, educational aid, seasonal support, and psychological rehab. This is a sustainable, transformative support that breaks the cycle of poverty permanently. All of Ain's projects are scholar approved, fully Shari'i compliant, and deliver with strict governance and oversight, given we have the operational capability to do this on the ground. When you give with Al Ain, you can be confident that your amana is protected and your giving reaches those who need it most. There are 2 ways to support today, and this noble mission is to ensure that the sponsorships program, which starts from £55 a month or £60 in Iraq and Afghanistan, with a big focus on Afghanistan. This means that you stay with them for the whole journey. The second is the Muharram fund. If you are not yet ready to commit to a monthly sponsorship, or you'd like to give additionally, the Muharram fund is there for you. Neither of these are small things. Sponsorship changes the life permanently, and the contribution, which is the Muharram fund, however modest it feels, it supports the children who are awaiting a sponsor, and we have many on the line. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. May Allah bless you all, and inshallah Allah accepts your deeds. Thank you very much. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
I'm sure, Mu'minin, please donate generously for this noble cause. Bar Muhammad wa al Muhammad salawat. Can you please ask Surah Fatiha for Maulana Sayyid Amira Hussein Hassani Nugula wa Marumin, Surah Mubarakat al-Fatiha. Couple of announcements. Tomorrow's program, inshallah, will start at 8 p.m. Tomorrow's program, inshallah, will start at 8 p.m. Mu'mina requested to arrive on time, so we can start on time. So tomorrow's program, inshallah, will start at 8 p.m. And we are also expecting the COAGE president, Brother Arif Ali Hirji, to come to give a speech to us as well. So Mu'mina requested to arrive on time. Second, there is a late youths girls program, 18 plus youths program at in the afternoon, 6:30, I believe, or 6 o'clock. Ladies, girls are advised to register with Rida and Batul, so we know how many people will be attending. So inshallah, I've already sent the email out and the WhatsApp. So youths of girls are girls are advised to make their participation known as soon as possible. Bar Muhammad wa al Muhammad salawat. Can you please invite the Shaykh to the memory of the Lord Nara Salawat. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
And the third and final salawat for the love of Fatima to Zahra with the loudest of your voices. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطاهرين. ما خاب من تمسك بكم، أمن من لجأ إلى حصنكم سادتي. سيدي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء. بأبي وأمي من ذبح من القفا، بأبي وأمي من ذبح عطشانا. يا ابن شبيب إن جدي الحسين قتل عطشانا غريب، تركوه في العرى دامي الجسم السليب. يا ابن شبيب إن يوم الحسين أقرح جفوننا، يا أسبل دموعنا ذل عزيزنا. سيدي يا أبا عبد الله، يا ليتنا يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس أنتم الفقراء إلى الله والله هو الغني الحميد. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Enlighten this majlis and bless this gathering with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before we start today's lecture, I think it is lovely that we have Al-Ain with us here today. And many times these reminders that come for charity, I think are important for us to ponder over. It's a blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal sends us reminders, because the human in their nature is forgetful. I, for one, have forgotten to take out charity since Muharram has started. And therefore I will dedicate £10 inshallah when I get off the minbar to pay for charity for the general Muharram fund. And I hope that you too would do such a thing. Those of you who can sponsor an orphan, that is even better. But if not, then every pound counts, I believe. For in many areas, a pound can feed potentially a family. And this I know for a fact, as I have seen those types of areas. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yesterday we spoke about the life of Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, and alhamdulillah, I think one of the most beautiful things happened yesterday, and that is that when we came to the end of the life of Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, one thing that wallahi kept me up at night, the fact that the lights closed and people started crying, although I was still very far away from the masa'ib, proves how the heart really yearns for those types of individuals. And that within itself is beautiful. And I really hope that on top of those emotions that we feel for those individuals, it is important for us to then be of those that take lessons from their life. Now, one of the respected community members asked me a question as I came off the mimbar, and I believe it's worth mentioning. And that is that he said that I mentioned that 2 tribes became Muslim because of Abu Dharr, Ghifar and the tribe of Salam, Aslam. Now those 2 tribes, yes, Ghifar became Muslim because of Abu Dharr, and Aslam became Muslim because of Abu Dharr. This is definite. But I don't want you to misunderstand me in saying that they then became good people. That is not what I was trying to say. I am saying that he guided individuals towards Islam, just like the Prophet guided individuals towards Islam. And of them were those who stayed on obedience, and of them are those who disobeyed. Yes, the tribe of Aslam were known to have disobeyed the Prophet. The tribe of Aslam were the ones who did the siege on Medina. The tribe of Aslam were the ones who prepared for the attack on the door of Fatima to Zahra. I don't deny any of that. But their guidance, their misguidance later has nothing to do with me. Their guidance came from Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. This was yesterday, and we took some lessons from his life. Today, many of you might have read today's title and thought, what is Ibrahim going to talk about today? The title, you're smiling already. The title was Independence or Independence. Which state does Islam promote? And this, I think, is of the most important topics for us to discuss, in the sense that today, this concept of the human being independent from every single little thing there is out there, and the concept that the human has been made to feel as though they have this complete freedom and complete freedom of choice. I'm not here to talk against freedom of choice, but I'm saying as a human, the freedom of choice to do whatever they like, I want to say is non-existent. I'm not talking from an Islamic point of view. Today, you as a human, go and perform a crime on the street and try to convince a judge that you have the freedom of choice. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as this complete freedom that is being inserted into our minds. This topic within itself, what freedom is and all of that, is not what I am here to discuss. I discussed this last year in Al-Abbas Center, and the lecture is available online for those that wish to look at it. What I want to look at is the actual inner state of a human. Whether Islam promotes for a human to be independent, or whether Islam promotes for a human to be dependent. This, again, can be brought up from multiple different perspectives. We can talk about it from a political perspective, from an individual perspective. What I really want is the sociological perspective of this topic. And to do that, I aim to first of all define the words that I am using so you know exactly what I am talking about. Then look at the societal norms of human beings. Then look at the norm of a human being, and look at some Quranic verses and narrations to hopefully look at what state Islam actually promotes for the human being. And we shall do that with your permission and with the blessings of Allah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Of the most important things when discussing any topic to begin with, and this is something maybe you have realized from my previous lectures, is that defining is of the most important things. In the sense that today I might be talking about something specific using a specific word, and you might have a different understanding to the word that I am using. So in order for me to be able to get my point across in the correct manner, I should define what I am talking about so that at least we are on the same wavelength, as they say. Otherwise, we might sit here and argue on certain issues, not realizing that we're actually talking about two different things. So when I am talking about the state of being independent, what I am really talking about is this concept of personal autonomy. The fact that you have this freedom, this complete freedom to choose whatever you like without any support, without any guidance. This is what I am talking about. As for dependence, I am talking about the exact opposite of that, and that is that the human is needy and that the human is in need of support at all times. Those two words are really what I am dealing with, and this is what I want from those two words. If you realize this concept of complete personal autonomy goes back to a very important concept known as individualism. This concept of individualism has been promoted especially with the advancement of modernity. And post-modernity actually developed this even more. The fact that the human is autonomous, the fact that the human is in a state where they can decide everything for themselves and they come before the society. I, as an individual, am more important than my community. This is the state of individualism that has been propagated through modernity. Modernity, by the way, and individualism is not just, or rather, individualism within modernity is not just something that it promotes. No, its cornerstone is individualism. Without individualism, modernity does not advance. Modernity is nothing. Modernity falls under four main cornerstones for those who are interested in these types of topics, and I'm not going to go too much into this. Urbanization, individualism, capitalism, and the potential for political and technological and philosophical advancement. This is what modernity is. Individualism is one of its main cornerstones. Why was this important? Because through this, it is the only way that I can promote complete freedom for a human being. And the word freedom sounds very nice, correct? I mean, when someone comes and tells you you can be free, this is something that a person yearns for. In fact, one of the things that Imam Al-Hussein alayhi afdal salati was salam praised Al-Hurr bin Yazid al-Riyahi for is the fact that he was what? Free, just like his mother named him. أنت حر كما سمتك أمك. You are free. So it is praiseworthy. But that freedom that Hurr had, is it the same? Is it the same? This concept of individualism, did it apply to this man by the name of Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi such that he became known as free? No, not at all. In fact, Islam is totally against this concept of individualism. And I cannot say it in any more clear words. And this is for multiple reasons. If we look, to begin with, at the societal norms and then the human norms, you will understand why. Today, as a society, the only way that we can progress is when we start depending on each other. The only way we can progress is if we start integrating with one another. If every person thought of themselves by themselves, without having other people in their mind, we would be in complete isolation. And with complete isolation, we're going to get nowhere. Where did community engagement go? Where did civil engagement go? Where did political engagement go? Where did all of this go? And again, I'm not here to discuss politics or whatever. Sociologically, Islam within itself, some claimed, they said Islam actually promotes isolation. Why? They said because there are narrations that talk about isolating oneself from the people. And true, I don't deny such a thing. There are such narrations. But what about the narrations that promote integration? What about the narration from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi afdal salati was salam? When a man comes to him and he says to him, what do you think about a man who does not go out to meet his brothers? Alhamdulillah, we are of those that are coming out to meet our brothers, inshallah. He says, what do you think of a man who doesn't go out to meet their brothers? He says, where does he learn his religion from? Ajib. Where does he learn his religion from? And truly, think to yourself, I think of myself to begin with. A lot of what I am able to learn is through my engagement with people. Correct or no? The more you engage, the more you learn. The more you are with individuals that can help you progress, the more you are going to progress and the closer you are going to get to Allah Azza wa Jal. Take the examples of our young children. The young children who attend the majalis have more facts, although they haven't studied officially Islam yet, if you like, have more facts about this religion than elders who do not come to majalis, correct or not? So therefore, through meeting brothers, through being in these environments, yes, you learn your religion, and that is what Imam al-Sadiq promoted. He has another narration, and he says, it is upon you to go and pray in your mosques. And I heard today from one of my respected uncles that there is a daily Maghribain Salah here when the resident alim is around. But I also heard that there's only 3 individuals that sometimes attend, maximum 4. And this is something that is quite upsetting, to be honest, especially with a beautiful center like this. We should have more attendance. I'm not saying that you have to pack out the whole, but make it something within your schedule that at least once or twice a week you should attend such a gathering. Imam al-Sadiq is saying, it is upon you to go and pray in the mosques. And it is upon you to become good neighbors. And it is upon you to attend funerals. And people are in need of one another. وَالنَّاسِ لَا بُدَّ لِبَعْضِهِمِ الْبَعْضِ. There is no narration stronger than this. People are in need of one another. People cannot do without one another is potentially a more accurate translation to this. You can't do without one another. And this, societies survived based on this. Societies survived based on the fact that one is in need of another individual. Just like a person, when they are ill, they need the doctor. And just like the doctor needs the butcher when they want to buy meat. And just like the butcher needs whatever, yani, at the end of the day, you need individuals so that you can progress as an individual, correct or no? So integration is what is being promoted. Tell me, Ibrahim, this is just because you want to promote this, so you mentioned these narrations. What about the other? I'll mention the other narrations. The other narrations is also a narration from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi afdalu salati wa salam. When he tells one of his companions and he tells him, if you are able to stay at home, فَلَا تَخْرُجْ. Don't ever go out. This is also very strong in words, right? If you are able to stay at home, فَلَا تَخْرُجْ. Don't ever go out. There is another narration from Imam al-Kadhim alayhi afdalu salati wa salam, where he says to his companion Hisham, he says to him, "O Hisham, being patient while being alone is of the signs of the strength of the intellect." Yalla, what do we do now? What do we do now with those 2 sets of narrations? We have one set of narration, tells you integrate, go out, go attend mosque, go do whatever. And you have another set of narrations that are saying what? That are saying, no, stay at home. And I brought you the strongest narrations in terms of wording. This is where now we are also in need of scholars to assess these types of narrations. And I, according to my limited understanding, when I read these narrations, I will be confused. Why? Because many times my reading is limited. My scholars guide me towards what? Towards a more proper reading, if you like. Of them is, complete those narrations. Imam al-Sadiq says, if you are able to not go out of your home, then stay at home. What does the rest of the narration say? Why do we cut off these narrations? The narration continues to say, and if you do so, meaning, and if you do go out, then do not lie, and do not envy, and do not backbite. Likewise, the narration of Hisham is also in a state where it is talking about not being affected by the desires of this world. And that is why Allam al-Majlisi came and he said, actually, to combine the 2 narrations is of the most easy of things to do. The narrations that talk about isolation are talking about isolating the heart from the desires of this world and secluding the heart from sin. But as humans, no, go and integrate. Go and integrate. These narrations are the clearest of the clear. And we don't need to think further than that. Islam definitely promotes integration. Islam definitely promotes a state in which we as individuals need to be with one another. So society within itself requires what? Integration. This is the societal norm. As for the human norm is shown to us by the Quran. You might tell me, when you came to the societal norm, You spoke about, for example, society in general from a general perspective. Then you spoke about it from an Islamic perspective. When you came to speak about the human norm, I am only going to speak about the Islamic perspective. Why, Ibrahim? Why are you going to only stick here? Go and speak and see what philosophers have said. I don't need the philosophers for this. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one that created the human being. And I am here talking to my fellow Shia brothers who believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah knows the human being better than we know ourselves. Correct or no? So let us look at the Quran and see what the Quran says about the human norm. Allah Azza wa Jal says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa khuliqa al-insanu da'ifa. Indeed, the human was created weak. We, the humans, are weak. No matter how arrogant I get, no matter how strong I think I am, at the end of the day, I was created what? Weak. Another verse in the Quran says, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ هَلُوعًا. What does this mean? It says, human was created anxious. The human is always in a state of anxiety. Both of these verses show that actually a human is now in need of something specific. Because when you have a weak individual, you need someone strong to help them. And when you have an individual who is anxious, you also need something to help them. That thing that helps the weak human, or that thing that helps the anxious human, can either be another individual, or it can also be a set of rules. I'm not here to promote only the fact that we always need people, because so far, if I want to be academic in what we are saying, so far I have not proven that the human needs to be dependent on someone specific. No. I haven't proven such a thing, and I don't claim to have proven such a thing yet. What I am saying is that the human being is now in a state where they need something. Whether that something is another human being or that something is a set of rules is now for us to discuss. You might tell me, what do you mean with a set of rules? I say, in the same way we established complete freedom causes chaos, and therefore, you have to have laws, and therefore you have to have certain jurisprudence. Likewise in Islam, you need laws and you need jurisprudence. Where did your ahkam fiqhiyya come from? Why do you have jurisprudential laws? Well, because we just felt like putting this is wajib, this is haram? No, because human progress requires specific laws. In order for me to progress as a human individual, in order for me to reach the true potential Allah Azza wa Jal has given for me, it is up to Him to now give me the laws that allow me to reach that potential, such that when I go astray from those laws and I realize that I am now coming short in my potential, let me not blame anyone but myself for not sticking to those rules. The exam was placed and the mark scheme was placed and everything was placed, and Allah Azza wa Jal made it very clear. This is what I need from a human being, and not for me. Why? Because Allah is self-sufficient. Allah doesn't need me. I am in need of Allah Azza wa Jal. Like the verse we started with, I'll come to address it in just a second. Like the verse we started with mentioned, I am the one that is in need of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah doesn't need me. But I am in a state where I need something to help me progress. I need something to help me advance. That advancement that I as Ibrahim need, yes, it can come in different forms. Sometimes it is another human being, and sometimes it is a set of rules. And understand that those set of rules are things that are going to help you advance. Therefore, by looking at both the societal norm and the human norm, there is no way that individualism makes sense from any perspective. And that is why Islam rejects it fully. It is not with such a thing at all. In fact, the human is always in need of one another. Just like Imam al-Sadiq said, and there is no statement more beautiful than the words of the Ahlul Bayt. This is very clear for all of us to see. Therefore now, I as Ibrahim, when I want to come forward and when I want to look at this concept of dependency or independency, I many times look and see that the concept of being independent is always matched with strength. Correct or no? Usually you find those two words always connected together. Strong and independent. If you're independent, that means you're strong. If you're dependent, that means what? You are weak. Is that true? What do you guys think? Is that true? Strength is only through being independent? I see some nods and I see some shakes. Let's put our hands up. Who believes strength and independency come together? Hands up. Good. Who believes they don't come together? Very good. I am with you guys. I'm with you guys. And I'll prove it to you. From two perspectives. From a perspective related to Allah Azza wa Jal, and from another perspective related to the human. Allah Azza wa Jal says that in terms of the one who relies on Allah, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. The one who has tawakkul upon Allah, that is enough for them. When you have tawakkul, are you independent or dependent? So when you are dependent on Allah, that is all you need. All your strength is through your dependency on the Almighty. This is from the perspective of looking at the Almighty. What about the human? The Quran also shows us a very beautiful verse. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. O you who have believed. Isbiru, be patient. Wasabiru. Sabiru comes from the same word as sabr. But isbiru was already mentioned. What is the difference between isbiru and sabiru? Sabiru means help each other upon patience. One time I'm patient by myself, and another time I do what? I help my believing brothers or sisters upon what? Patience. The Quran is saying, oh, you have believed, be patient and help one another with patience. Isbiru wasabiru warabitu. And make strong ties with one another. Wattaqullah. And be fearful of Allah. But realize, ittaqullah didn't come in the singular form. It came in the plural form. So together be pious of Allah Azza wa Jal. Together be God-fearing. This is a formula. What is the result of this formula? The verse continues. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So through it you might attain success. And for more context, this verse came in a context of war, which is when you need the most strength. So Allah Azza wa Jal is saying actually for the humans, the more you depend on each other, even when it comes to times of patience, that is when you will attain strength, and that is when you will attain success, and that is when you shall attain victory. Can you find anything greater than that? I say yes. Yes. Don't be an individual who is dependent on people's thoughts. Don't be a person who is dependent on the society, if it is okay for me to say it in this manner. In the sense that, be independent from everything that enslaves you to anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jal. This I say 100% yes. 100% yes. Be independent from anything that enslaves you. By the way, this complete freedom is actually what? Enslaving yourself to your own desire. So including freedom. I am including freedom into this, or this concept of complete personal autonomy rather, is what I'm including in this. Free yourself from that. Don't be dependent on that. Be independent of it. Don't be of those that then suddenly find themselves worshipping more than Allah Azza wa Jal. Wal-'iyadhu billah. And Allah Azza wa Jal shows a beautiful example in the Quran when He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Daraballahu mathalan. Every time the Quran starts with Daraballahu mathalan, no, a very beautiful example is about to come that you can take a lot of lessons from. Allah says, Daraballahu mathalan. What is this example of yours, Ya Ilahi? He says, Rajulan, a man who is enslaved to multiple quarreling masters. Multiple quarreling masters. What is the other side? وَرَجُلًا, and another man, سَلَمًا لِرَجُلٍ. He is only enslaved to one man. Allah Azza wa Jal is talking to those individuals who understood slavery and understood what it meant. That when you have a slave that is now under multiple masters and whom don't agree, is very different to a man who is what? A slave to one master by themselves. He says, هَلْ يَسْتَوِيَانِ مَثَلًا. Are they the same example or are they different? One slave is to multiple quarreling masters. From here, I have Allah Azza wa Jal telling me do this. And from here, I have my desires telling me to do the opposite. What do I do? Yes, 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 I can become enslaved to my desire. The Quran says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُهُ هَوَاهُ. Do you know how dangerous this verse is? Did you see the one that took their Lord as their desire? Imagine, you sit in your grave and someone or the angel comes to you and tells you, Ibrahim, who is your Lord? What was I worshipping? Was I worshipping Allah or was I worshipping my desire? Wherever it takes me, I go with it. Takes me left, I go left. Takes me right, I go right. Something for me to ponder about. So therefore, be independent of those things and be dependent on Allah Azza wa Jal, the Almighty. Free yourself from this type of thinking that gives you the illusion of strength. No, there is no strength through such a thing. Strength is through dependency. Strength comes through being dependent on Allah Azza wa Jal and being dependent on your community. And this is important for us to understand, because unless we understand this, we will not progress as a community. I promise you on that. I don't need to mention examples. You by yourself can think of many examples in surrounding communities of Essex and other places. You can think of those examples. Look at individuals who feel that they are completely independent of others, and look at how far they progress. And then look at the other side. And you'll realize that actually you are in need of one another. And you need to come together to become strong. And you need to come together in order for you to progress as a community and as a society. And this applies, although I did say I only want to mention it from a sociological perspective, I do want to bring it from a fiqhi perspective as well. This also applies to your ahkam. I wonder why a person can come to the point where they think they can be completely independent of a jurist. How do you even come to such a conclusion? How do you even come to the point where you say, I can read the narrations by myself and I will know what my hukum is? How can such a person even reach such a stage? I have no idea. That is why this concept of independency actually goes to the point where it makes a person so arrogant. And arrogance is of the worst of diseases that is found within mankind. The worst disease in mankind is arrogance. Arrogance is what caused Iblis to be taken out of the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. Arrogance is what caused Fir'aun to stand and say, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, I am your highest Lord. That is what arrogance does. Arrogance is of the most disgusting diseases, if I am allowed to say such a thing. Therefore, that arrogance we need to be careful of, and we need to be careful of this concept of complete independency, because it affects my religion. It can make me go astray. I just mentioned to you 2 sets of narration on a general social topic. Go and open our fiqh books and go and look at the narrations we have in salah, and go and look at the narrations we have in regards to fasting, and go and look at the narrations, no, even more. This one you all know. Go and look at the narrations regarding the crescent and the moon. You're smiling because it's a struggle every year. This one we know. What do you think the jurists came to different opinions on this matter? Because each one of them felt like it? The jurists, you perform taqleed of them because they have taqwa. If they didn't have God consciousness, you will not perform taqleed of them. In fact, you cannot perform taqleed of such an individual that is not God-fearing. So you know for a fact that every jurist who came to an opinion, between them and Allah Azza wa Jal, they thought that this is the right opinion according to their research. So how different are those narrations and the understanding of those narrations, even if they are the same? You have narrations many times, 2 jurists will come to different conclusions based on the exact same narration. You tell him, what is your evidence? He says, this narration. You tell jurist number 2, what is your evidence? He'll tell you the same narration. Each one of them understands it in a different manner. Each one of them applies different principles to it to understand it in his manner. What makes me, Ibrahim, think I can be independent of that jurist? I say, no problem. You want to do such a thing? Go and study. Go study. No one is going to stop you. In fact, we need more mujtahids. Very good. Very good. We need more mujtahids. But go and study to become a mujtahid and have your opinion, and no one will say anything to you. But don't be sat here looking at different books and different narrations saying this one is weak, this one is strong, this one I do this with it. Based on what? This is arrogance that comes from independency. The fact that I do not need something else. I don't need someone else. Islam does not promote such a thing. At all. At all, at all. Nor do I say, for me to come to my final point, nor do I say that Islam promotes complete dependency. I say Islam promotes dependency upon Allah Azza wa Jal. Dependency upon the Almighty. In the sense that when you think you become independent of the Almighty, this is when a person, rahimakallah, this is when a person starts going astray. When a person thinks of them to be dependent, the verses are clear. وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Another one. وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ, or rather, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. The one who is God-fearing, the one who thinks of Allah Azza wa Jal, He makes an opening for them. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Allah would even sustain them from places that they wonder, how does this even come to me? How does this even come to me? All through what? Through being dependent on Allah. And through being independent of your desire. As for us as humans, like I said, I'm not here to claim that we have to be dependent on one another in a full picture. No, because that's not possible. If I was to bring this example in one way or another, I would say, imagine if I need to be dependent on everyone, then I, as an individual, I as Ibrahim, the one who is dependent on someone, that person becomes independent of me. And that's not possible, because that makes one human dependent and another independent. So actually what I need is Allah Azza wa Jal created the human being. And He created multiple human beings for them to live in a society. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. We've created you from male and female. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلًا. And we made you into nations and tribes. For what? لِتَعَارَفُوا. So that you can come and know one another, so that you can come and learn from one another. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal gave us the formula. I, the insan, by myself, am weak. I, by myself, am needy. That is why the verse we started with says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. You are the ones who are needy of Allah. Wallahu huwa al-ghaniyyul hamid. And Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who is sufficient. Realize, the verse started with what? Ya ayyuhal nas, O people. Why? Because actually when you look at those verses are talking about idol worshippers. So the verse could have easily come as what? O mushrikeen, you are the ones who are needy of Allah. Allah wanted to show this is universal. Not just the idol worshippers. Even the Muslims are fuqara ilallah. Everyone, the Muslims, the non-Muslims, the idol, whoever you are needy of Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal is sufficient. That means Allah is sufficient, and all of us human beings are what? Needy. Meaning we need also one another. We are dependent on Allah and we need one another according to the verses and the narrations we mentioned. Therefore, actually what Islam promotes within a society is interdependence. Clear? Anyone have any issues? We are not independent. We are not completely dependent on other people. We are only completely dependent on Allah. And we as a society are interdependent. One is dependent on another. And this was taught by the Ahlul Bayt in every single social form. To the extent where even when it came to marriage, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah alayh showed this. Ask yourself, wallah, ask yourself, does Amir al-Mu'mineen need anyone? What do you think? Allah, by the way, is sufficient, and Amir al-Mu'mineen is an insan. So Amir al-Mu'mineen is faqir towards Allah Azza wa Jal. I'm not here to say anything before someone takes me out of context. Amir al-Mu'mineen is faqir when it comes to Allah Azza wa Jal. His munajat are the clearest of the clear. But does he need other human beings? Ask yourself. So why does it then come when it comes to his marriage, he goes to his brother Aqil and he says to him, Ya Aqil, khar li imra'a waladatha al-fuhul min al-Arab. Choose for me a woman that is born from a brave Arab family. Because he is teaching us this concept of interdependence. And so, Amir al-Mu'mineen decides to take the advice of Aqil to marry al-Banin. I know tonight you're remembering Hur. Tomorrow, inshallah, I will give you the masa'ib of both Hur and Habib. But tonight, let us have our hearts with al-Banin. al-Banin comes into the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen and she says to Imam al-Hasan and Hussein, allow me to be a what? Khadima, a servant in your home. al-Banin then goes on to raise her children and raise this society that is around her to show that actually you as an individual cannot be independent. Such that Abul Fadl al-Abbas, even when he is in the point where there is water for him to drink from, he says, Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Husayni huni, wa ba'dahu la kunti an takuni. O self, do not humiliate yourself before Hussein, as after him you are nothing to be. Who do you think of yourself by yourself? Individualism. Islam promotes individualism. Look at the words of Abul Fadl al-Abbas. You are nothing to be after Hussein. هذا حسين وارد المنون. This is Hussein approaching death. وتشربين بارد المعين. While you want to drink from the cold water, look at the teachings of this religion. والله ما هذا فعال ديني. By Allah, this is not the acts of my religion. ولا فعال صادق اليقين. And not the acts of the one who is truthful in their certainty. When Imam Zainul Abidin returns to Medina with the captives, he looks at a man by the name of Bishr ibn Hadlam. He says to him, Bishr, go and enter Medina and mourn Hussein. Bishr ibn Hadlam enters and he calls out, Ya Ahla Yathrib la muqama lakum biha. O people of Yathrib, people of Medina, you have no place in it anymore. They say to him, Bishr, what has happened? He says, meet me by the masjid of Rasulullah and I shall inform you of the news. He continues walking the streets of Medina saying, Ya Ahla Yathrib la muqama lakum biha, until he reaches the masjid of Rasulullah. There he calls out, Ya Ahla Yathrib la muqama lakum biha. قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرار الجسم منه بكربلاء مضرج والرأس منه على القناة يدار. بشر بن حذلم would say, O people of Yathrib, you have no place in it anymore. Hussein has been killed, therefore I am shedding my tears. His body in the land of Karbala has been left in brood, and his head is being taken from place to place on a spear. Ajarakum Allah, Bishr ibn Hadlam would narrate. He would say there was not a single woman except that she came out of her home crying, Wa Husayna, until I saw an old lady making her way between the people, saying, make way, for I have a question to ask. When she reached me, she said to me, are you the one mourning
calling Hussein. Tell me, is Hussein dead or alive? Bashar would say, I became confused. She can hear me moan about Abdullah. Yet she asked if Hussein is dead or alive. He asked someone next to him, he said to him, who is this woman? He said to him, woe upon you, O Bish. Do you not know who she is? He said to him, this is al-Baneen, this is the mother of Abbas and his brothers. Bashar says, now I understood why she reacted in this manner. So I said, oh al-Baneen, my condolences on the martyrdom of Ja'far. She said, did you hear me ask about Ja'far? He said, oh al-Baneen, my condolences on the martyrdom of Uthman. She said to him, tell me about Hussein. He said, oh al-Baneen, my condolences on the martyrdom of Abdullah. She said to him, did you hear me ask about Abdullah? Then he would say to her, oh al-Baneen, my condolences on the martyrdom of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He was martyred with no arms. His head was raised on a spear, al-Baneen. She said to him, oh man, did you hear me ask about Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas? Tell me about my beloved Hussein. Is he dead or alive? It's as if he says to her, oh al-Baneen, sit down and cry away. If you want the news, then hear what I have to say. 3 of your sons in Karbala lay, and Abbas, both his head and hands were cut off. She would take a deep breath and sigh. If you think for my sons I cry, to Karbala I send them to die. Just tell me Hussein is safe. That is when he would say to Ya al-Baneen, my condolences on the martyrdom of Abi Abdullah. He was left on the plains of Karbala, a body with no head. His head was raised on a spear. His chest was trampled over by horses. His finger was cut off. She would cry out, Wa Husseina, wa walada, ay wa Husseina, wa walada, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Oh Allah, we ask you by the best of your creation. Oh Allah, by Fatima and her father, husband and her children, Ya Allah, whoever has a need, grant them their needs. Whoever is ill or knows of an ill person, grant them a speedy recovery, Ya Arham Ar-Rahimin. Oh Allah, for the sake of the tears that are flowing on our cheeks, for the sake of the tears of al-Baneen, for the sake of the tear of Sahib al-Zaman, hasten in the appearance of Sahib al-Zaman, and allow us to be amongst his supporters, Ya Arham Ar-Rahimin. Those who have attended, may Allah accept your deeds with the best of his acceptance. The organizers, may Allah accept your deeds with the best of his acceptance. For your marhumin, for the marhumin of those who have attended, for the marhumin of Shi'at Amir al-Mu'mineen, we remember them all with a Surah Al-Fatiha, preceded by a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
نہ مارے جاتے، کاش عباس 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 نہ مارے جاتے۔ اس طرح لگتی نہ اکبر کے کلیجے میں سنا، اس طرح ہوتی نہ سادات کے خیموں میں فغاں، یوں نہ زینب کے سہارے جاتے، یوں نہ زینب کے سہارے جاتے، کاش عباس مارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے۔ دونوں بازو وہ شہنشاہ وفا کے تھامے، لاش عباس پہ شبیر بکا کرتے تھے، بھائی تم بعد ہمارے جاتے، بھائی تم بعد ہمارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے۔ ہوتے عباس تو چھنتی ناردا زینب کی، پاؤں میں عابد مزتر کے نہ بیڑی ڈلتی، تازیانے بھی نہ مارے جاتے، تازیانے بھی نہ مارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے۔ ہو کے پابند رسن سید سجاد چلے، نہر کو دیکھ کے روتے ہوئے یہ کہنے لگے، سب وطن ساتھ ہمارے جاتے، سب وطن ساتھ ہمارے جاتے، کاش عباس نہ مارے 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 جاتے۔
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، حیا علی خیر العمل، حیا علی خیر حیا علی خیر العمل، حیا علی یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین۔ کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا، کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا، کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا، خون ٹپکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا، کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا، کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا۔ جیسے جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا، جیسے جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا، پشت میں حضرت شبیر کی بھی تم آیا، خون ٹپکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا، کربلا والوں یہ کیسا محرم آیا، کربلا والوں کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے، کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے سات کنبے کو لیے وارث آدم آیا خون تپکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا حسین کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں سارے موسم تو گزر جاتے ہیں آ کر لیکن سارے موسم تو گزر جاتے ہیں آ کر لیکن بس ہمیشہ کے لیے موسم ماتم آیا خون تپکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں آیا کربلا والوں پہ جیسے جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا جیسے جیسے میرے غازی کا علم جھکتا گیا پشت پہ حضرت میں حضرت شبیر کی بھی کم آیا خون تپکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ آیا کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے کربلا دیکھ لے اسلام بچانے کے لیے سات کنبے کو لیے وارث آدم آیا خون تپکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم آیا خون تپکتا ہوا عباس کا پرچم آیا کربلا والوں پہ یہ کیسا محرم یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین 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 حسین
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم رسول الله. السلام عليكم أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليكم خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليكم حسن المشربة. السلام عليكم باب الله الحسين وعلى تسعة المعصومين من ذريتك ولي ابن الحسين محمد بن علي جعفر بن محمد موسى جعفر ولي ابن موسى محمد بن علي ولي ابن محمد وحسن بن علي وجهة بن حسان أجل الله فرجه سهل الله مخرجه وظهوره. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله